Dee 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 dee. Flea flea dee dee. Son of a bitch. That's probably going to be very distracting for anyone who sees it. What's good, people? Agent Jules reporting for duty. So, I finally saw Onward. This video is going to be a follow-up to last week's video where I was just speculating upon Onward the movie because I didn't see it yet and I was making a bunch of pre-judging, I guess, prejudice calls upon it and saying this and that about it. But now I'm actually going to share my real thoughts now that I've actually seen it. So for this video, I am going to accompany it with a speed paint of my favorite character in the movie, which is the mighty Manticore. So in last week's video, I was mentioning a lot of my biases I have toward Pixar and how that may or may not taint my view, or in the positive way, taint my view of this movie. So, did I like it? Was it good? Was it entertaining? Did I hate it? Well, buckle in, put on your favorite adventure pants, slap that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let us go on a quest to find out. Alright, TLDR, did I like it? Yeah, I did. I really did. A lot of my biases that I mentioned in the previous video of how I love adventure, I love Pixar, I love the concept of the bro quest, all of that was hit in this movie, obviously, and so I naturally was drawn into it, and I overall enjoyed it. Now, that being said, I was not blown out of the water. It did not shock me to an amazing degree. There are some flaws in the movie that I, some bones to pick that I have. But I will say that there are aspects of it that did exceed my expectations. Now, I did have high expectations for this movie, and they were met, and in some ways they were exceeded. So technically, I was more pleased than I thought I would be, but not to the point where I'm going to sing its praises, and not to the point where it has unseated The Incredibles as the best Pixar movie that I've seen. The biggest thing that it had going for it that pleased me, besides the fact that it hit all my biases, was the chemistry between the main characters of the brothers, Ian and Barley. Ian being the younger brother, played by Tom Holland, and Barley being the older brother, played by Chris Pratt. Those two have amazing chemistry. They totally carry this movie. And I don't mean carry this movie in the fact that everything else was bad, but they were the highlights by far of the movie, and it just made it that much better. It's really fun to see those two bros on their bro quest. And like I said, that does kind of hit on my biases, mostly because I actually have a little brother of my own. So, that I have direct, sympathetic understanding of the concept of the bro quest. With that being said, before we go into spoilers, I'm going to try to say this part unspoiler-y, but one of my main complaints about the movie is that it kind of started out weak. I can talk about this stuff because they pretty much reveal all of what I'm about to say in the trailers. The idea where Ian, the Tom Holland character, you get the idea that he's very awkward and shy and whatnot. And toward the beginning of the movie, they're really setting up how, oh, I'm just a shy, awkward boy, and I really want to hang out with friends and stuff, but ooh, I can't. I understand that you have to do the exposition of setting up, how he's shy and awkward so he can grow as a character, which is a good thing in storytelling. However, I felt that it was done very generically. In fact, it was when I first saw that opening, and it was kind of corny. My first thoughts were going to be like, oh no, this is probably going to be one of Pixar's lesser films. Well, I spent the money, I'm going to watch it, and I watched it, and of course it picked up as soon as the plot really got rolling and it became an awesome bro quest. You know what it was? It felt like the screenwriter, or screenwriters, I can't remember if it was one or more, whoever they were, it felt like they had this really awesome idea, but they had to set it up. Oh, we're gonna have an awesome bro quest, and I have so many cool ideas, but I have to explain how they get there in the first place. So it felt like they kind of phoned it in for the beginning. It's like, oh, I'm shy and awkward, and okay, are we done with that? Cool. All right, let's get to the good shit. That's kind of what it felt like. All right, there is a really big thing in this movie that I really love that they did, and before I get into it, I do have to put up the spoiler warning, because we are now getting into spoiler territory. So here's the big annoying sign that says spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you're going this far, you will be spoiled. If you're cool with that, let's get going. If not, then skip over. I'll probably put a timestamp or something where you're safe again. All right. My favorite part in this movie was the ending, because they kept its gravity. And I really, really like the fact that they kept its gravity. All right, for those of you who are watching the spoilers and have seen the movie, I'm going to recap. For those of you weirdos who like getting stuff spoiled for you, here's the shtick. So the idea is that Ian and Barley's father died from some unknown illness, and this is in the trailer. It was an illness that killed him. It wasn't a trailer. Anyway, so he leaves behind a spell to kind of bring him back to life. The thing is that Ian, the younger brother, is the one with the magic touch. Even though the older brother, Barley, is the one obsessed with magic and stuff, he doesn't have the magic innately within him, but Ian is, so he's the one who casts the spell. And the little gem that they find along with the staff is broken, and it's like the material component that is required for this 24-hour back-to-life spell. So the whole point of the Bro Quest is to find another gem. I think it's called like a Phoenix gem. It is established that they have 24 hours to finish the spell and get the top half of Dad back, or the spell ends and they never really get to meet him, get to talk with him and everything. And when they finally get to the gem, it's almost time's up, sundown of the next day. So they basically have a few hours left by the time they get their hands on the gem, and they have to fight the final boss, which is this really cool shot of this golem dragon made up of parts of the high school that was torn up and everything. I thought that was pretty clever. But when I was watching it and I saw them like get the new Phoenix stone and everything, and of course there's that final sacrifice where Ian decides to fight the dragon and essentially miss his chance to talk with his dad, so that Barley can get a chance to apologize to his dad for never saying a proper goodbye when he was in his final days of his illness. And my first thought was going to be, okay, what's going to happen is they're going to get the Phoenix stone back, the Phoenix gem, and Ian is going to complete the spell, and the dad is going to come back, and it's going to be like, because you used a new Phoenix stone, the spell resets, and now you get your 24 hours again. But they didn't. That was awesome. Like I was expecting a polished, sterilized Disney ending of they get their way anyway in the end, but they didn't. In that last shot, you actually don't get to see or hear what the dad says to Barley, because in the last shot, Ian does the final blow to the dragon, and of course the final blow is this super hard spell that he was struggling with the whole movie, and he finally gets it in one last great moment. And the dragon explodes, and Ian is thrown away, and he's trapped in rubble, and he's trying to climb out, but he can't. So he peeks through the rubble, and you see Barley and his completed dad talking. You can't hear what they're saying, but they're clearly talking, and they do like a touching hug. And we, the audience, along with Ian, never get to hear what he has to say firsthand. And the fact that they just let that happen, it was unexpected for me, basically. That was the point. I was just like, wow. They let the gravity of the situation have weight. They didn't take it away. They didn't cheapen the sacrifice, essentially, that Ian makes, where he basically says, I'm not going to get to see my dad, but in order for anyone to see Dad, Barley, I have to make this sacrifice of like my only chance to ever speak with him. And he does, and it makes that sacrifice heavy. And I love it because that's kind of the whole part of Ian's growth, is making this really heavy, mature decision. Because at the beginning of the movie, it shows that even though he never met his dad, he really, really wants to see his dad. Like there's that scene where he has a recording of his dad, I guess, like trying to like answer a message. He's not really even saying anything. He's like saying like, oh, is this thing working? Oh, that's cool. It's working. Hey, honey, the thing works. And Ian like listens to that recording because it's the only recording he has of his dad's voice. So it's very clear he wanted to see his dad, and he gave that up. And it didn't get Disneyed away. The sacrifice wasn't Disneyed away, and I love that. That by far is my favorite part of this whole movie, that they let the weight of the situation happen. And it's a great lesson for younger kids and for people in general, is that sometimes you don't get what you want, no matter how bad you want it. And sometimes, you do have to make sacrifices, big ones, if you want something to happen. Like Ian sacrificed the chance to see his dad so that Barley could say a real goodbye, because he never got that chance. All right, so now that we're kind of sort of out of the spoilers, let me talk about my favorite character, who I'm making the Manticore. I feel comfortable talking about this spoiler-free because you essentially see all this in the trailer. The idea is that the Manticore, she was once this great hero. She's basically a superhero in this movie. She's famous. She's got like all kinds of cool superpowers and stuff. And of course, nowadays she owns her own restaurant franchise, and she's essentially been civilized. She used to be this wild and crazy adventurer, but after years of settling down, setting up a franchise, and having to worry about running a business, and the hurdles that come with it, taxes and shareholders and blah 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 blah, it kind of tamed her into this meek, neurotic worrywart that you see in the trailer.
Quick! Somebody help me! These Riffin nuggets were supposed to go out minutes ago.
That's the Manticore?
So anyway, there's this scene where, the bros meet her because they need information from her, and they see her the way she is, and she won't help them because she's too worried about her restaurant and all these little things. And eventually, because the brothers are really adamant about getting her help to get their dad back, she eventually has this moment where she's like, oh my God, you're right. What have I done? Look at me. My life is a lie. And she goes crazy and stuff. And it's really hilarious. The reason why she's my favorite character is because she's so honestly kind of out of her mind. You could easily fall into the trap of making the Manticore another stereotypical, sassy black woman, because she's voiced by Octavia Spencer. But they didn't do that. They made her actually quite the opposite. She is not a sassy, sarcastic character. She's, like I said, she's very earnest, and her energy comes from the fact that she's this caged beast, this wild, crazy barbarian who has had to basically close off her wild side in order to run this restaurant. And of course, you see in the trailer that she helps the brother's mom find the brothers because of the curse that comes with having to go on their bro quest. It's just the interactions between the Manticore and the mother are just hilarious. I'll do a little mini spoiler thing here. You see that she has I'm drawing her with a tattoo on her arm because that's her actual tattoo, because there's a part where in order to help the boys, that she needs to get back her sword that she pawned off to help with tax trouble she had. And it's really great because when she's giving exposition as to the curse in the trailer that they're alluding to, she has a tattoo of that. So when she's giving this explanation, she rips off her sleeves, and she has this really sweet sleeve tat that tells the entire story of what's going on. And she's pointing to it, saying this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, this is going to happen. But first we need to get my sword. As he rips off her other sleeve, and then which is the arm I'm showing off, is this she got a tattoo of her own sword. By the way, really quickly, at the time of drawing this picture, which is actually I finished it the previous Sunday before this video comes out on Wednesday, there was no picture that I could look up on Google or anything of that tattoo. So I'm just guessing it. So for you people looking at this in the future who are saying,
"Oh, Manticore's tattoo is wrong,"
it's well, guess what? I didn't have a reference. This whole thing is entirely by memory. So, anyway, so her energy, her craziness, her sincerity, her existential crisis of realizing that she's had to bottle up her true, wild, insane self, just makes her really fun to watch on screen, which is why ultimately she ended up being my favorite character. So ultimately, yes, I enjoyed the movie. It did exceed my expectations, but it wasn't phenomenal. I still recommend watching it. Beware of the beginning where it's kind of weak and kind of generic, but once it gets out of that exposition mud that it feels obligated to wade through, It really picks up, and it's another good, it's another high mark on Pixar's pedigree. So anyway, with all that babbling aside, I guess I'll go ahead and wrap up for today. So you people know what to do now. If you like what you see and you want to see more, go ahead and hit the sacred buttons. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you're on the up and up when new stuff comes out. In addition, please comment below. Let me know what you think. Did you see the movie? Did you not see the movie but are now convinced? Did you watch the, did you go through the spoiler part without having seen the movie? Let me know your thoughts one way or another. Also, let me know if there's anything you guys want to see from me as well. You know, it's always good to get some feedback on that stuff. In addition, I'm going to go ahead and say share the video. You know, it definitely helps the channel, and it lets everyone know that you have good taste because you watch my quality content that I crap out on a weekly basis. And of course, you can follow me elsewhere on the interbuts. I'll go ahead and set up the links here on the screen. If you actually want to click the links, go ahead and go into the description box down below where I have my intro video, which will have all of my social media links compiled in one place, so you can just hurry up and click them. And with all that said, I thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you all stick around. And until next time, riddly diddly deuces.